I got into speaking because I just have a passion for being able to deliver messages to audiences that help them. If you're watching this video now, you've probably been looking through a few tapes on different speakers. And when you look at any group, there's always going to be one person that's somewhat different. And you can probably tell when you get to this tape that I'm going to be that person. I worked my way up through a company when I was just 19 years old, and was able to go from being a lowly person in the company to buying away a computer division. That took about 7 years. I took that company and turned it into about a $40 million operation.
Scott Klososky, entrepreneur, self-made man, highly sought-after speaker, CEO of 3 successful international startup companies, an innovative leader with a passion for making your organization better. Scott Klososky is known around the world for shaking up the status quo when it comes to building teams and setting strategy for success. He shares stories and experiences that he learned in the trenches as he brought his startup companies through good and hard times and faced incredible adversity. He delivers fresh observations, ideas, and practical steps that his clients can use immediately. Scott Klososky, giving your organization the future point of view.
I have the classic kind of entrepreneurial background, and I've learned an awful lot of lessons along the way. I've had millions and millions of dollars that have been invested in me by investors. When you ask investors what's unique and different about me, they would tell you, first of all, I've got really good over-the-horizon vision. Second of all, I'm very good at assembling teams. Third, I'm very good at building cultures that allow people to succeed within those teams. So I've not built my career as a scholarly exercise. I've built my career on actually going out and doing things, building companies, putting together the teams of people that were successful, oftentimes with very leading-edge technologies that people hadn't heard much about. I built a company called Webcast.com. At Webcast in the late 90s, we had some of the best technology for creating kind of interactive television over the web. So the premier thing that could be done in the world at that time was to webcast the WWF WrestleMania. Anybody heard of it here? Yeah, okay. Some of you won't admit it, but I have to say I still watch it to this day. So we get this call from the WWF. They'd seen us at a trade show, and they said, hey, we'd like to know if you guys could webcast WrestleMania for us. Shane McMahon flies out to see us and comes in with the head of their IT department and says, all right, look, we need to know if you have a pay-per-view system that could handle signing up like 10,000 people the day of the event. And here's how many hours ahead we think they'll sign up, basically gave it to us. And can you handle 10,000 simultaneous streams? So I have a room full of our developers, and the head developer says, yeah, we can do it. He gets up to the board, he starts drawing all this kind of stuff. Yeah, he's doing all this math, no problem, we can handle it. We can do that pay-per-view for you. So Shane says, great, you're hired, and he goes off. Now, I'd not heard that our pay-per-view system could do that. So when he left, I asked our head of IT, when was it that our pay-per-view got that strong? And he said, I don't know, I just made all that stuff up in there. I said, you got to be kidding me. And he said, no, but I really, seriously, I think, we got enough time. We got like 6 weeks. We'll have it together. Don't worry, boss. Don't worry. So I'm on my way to go meet with, the McMahons and the head of IT. So I'm on the phone back to the office, and I go, well, what's going on? And this is, I'll never forget as long as I live. Brad Thomas at my office says to me, Scott, we are slamming 1U servers into the racks as fast as we can, and we can't hold it any longer. And what do you mean you can't hold it any longer? He said, they're coming in too fast. It's breaking down. We can't get them registered. And so finally the head of IT looks over at me and he says, just go ahead and turn it off and let them in. I mean, if we can't register them for the event, then we're not going to block them all and get a bad reputation. Just turn it off. We'll just let everybody see it online, and we'll just lose the money. We will just lose the money. You notice he said we, not the royal we. We were all going to lose money. So then he looks at me, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. He looks at me and he says, Scott, this was a complete and utter failure. As long as I live, I will never forget his face saying that to me. So that's what happens when you don't do magic things. Okay, now what I could have told you was the head of IT that told me that he could get that pay-per-view done, he was working in an office in Phoenix. The rest of the developers were in Oklahoma City. The two groups didn't work very well together. They were fighting over what the strategy should be about how to do the pay-per-view. They didn't agree on how the code should be set up. And so they argued for 6 weeks over how it should get done. At the end of the day, it was an embarrassing failure of collaboration. So I've seen both sides. That's how much you impact a company. And that's what you can do. Just in who you are, just how you show up, and the quality work that you do.
Scott Klososky's outstanding presentation content includes entrepreneurship, applying the existing entrepreneurial talents suppressed within large organizations, cultural evolution, synchronizing corporate cultures with team members in order to generate rapid results, visionary technology application. The digital tools that are inundating us and their skillful application can generate outstanding results if applied early and strategically. He customizes each presentation for every group, weaving your needs and the story of your industry into a conversation that produces real results. Scott Klososky, The Future Point of View.
After about 4 or 5 years of building companies, I started getting asked to speak to groups where people said, hey, could you talk to us about how to be entrepreneurial? Could you talk to us about how to build teams and how to put together a culture that becomes successful? And so I would speak to groups, and people would really be energized at the end, and they would stop me afterwards and say, you know, I never thought of that, or I really like the way that you approached building that culture. You know, I always understood how important being an entrepreneur was, but I didn't understand how those skills could play in a large company. So I thought, you know, it would be nice to be able to touch bigger and wider audiences, and that's what led me to actually become a speaker in the first place. Audiences want to be touched somehow. They want to feel something. They don't want to just sit back in their chairs and just listen to content that gets thrown at them and see 30 slides where they walk away and there's really nothing they can take home and use. Audiences, they want to feel. And so I learned that you had to have the right combination of content, the right combination of showmanship, and certainly a high amount of ideas. I believe if you can have an audience walk away with 3 powerful ideas that they can use, you've given them something of value. They'll appreciate that they sat and that they listened to you talk. So for me, personally, and if I got to go assemble a team, it's really developers first. I mean, if you don't have the people that can build the products and can do the magic things, marketing is going to have nothing to market. Now, there's always a big debate in companies about, well, gee, is it more important to have people that can sell the product or people that can generate the product? That's always the interesting discussion, up at the C-levels. What's more valuable, a really good salesperson or a really good developer? Because a developer could do a wonderful product, but if nobody sells it, okay, we make no money. True. Okay? But if a developer doesn't develop any good product, doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are, we make no money. So they're at least equally as important. I say this just so that you take seriously your role in the operation and what you bring to it. I think a lot of times developers, they love to develop. They love to be creative. They love to be artists. They like to code. They like to do eloquent code. I mean, they like to make things work. That we're logical, as developers. Okay? But sometimes we lose the context of what we're really doing. We don't understand how what we're doing impacts the rest of the organization.